Hey everybody, welcome back to Extreme Weather Zone. A winter storm is coming towards the west coast in a few hours, bringing several feet of snow to portions of California and Oregon. Then a multi-day severe weather outbreak returns to the central U.S., and warm temperatures build in the southeastern U.S., and maybe a tropical storm in the next 2 weeks. Definitely an extreme weather pattern. You'll want to watch this video, but first, please like the video, share the video, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. So, this is kind of the current satellite imagery showing a lot of thunderstorms blowing up along kind of a dry line that goes all the way, it seems like, all the way from Nebraska down into Texas. Especially in Texas, you have these huge thunderstorms with the potential for a couple of tornadoes. Yesterday there was a huge tornado, or a couple of huge tornadoes in Texas yesterday, but you can see huge thunderstorms in Texas bringing probably large hail or very large hail and a couple of tornadoes along this whole line of storms. And then here's the system coming into the western U.S. You see some clouds and rain coming into western Oregon along the coast there, and it's going to move through the western U.S., bringing several feet of snow. And we're almost in summer. So that's what makes this kind of interesting, that's happening. This is the National Weather Service. They have winter storm warnings in the Sierra Nevada mountains, high wind warnings, wind advisories, all that stuff over the southwest as the storm comes in. And then you have severe thunderstorm and tornado watches and severe thunderstorm warnings from Nebraska, Kansas, eastern Colorado, down into Texas. And also still flooding in Oklahoma, where there were all those tornadoes and just severe weather day after day last week. And so there's a lot of flooding there. And also winter weather advisories, winter storm watches in some areas of the Pacific Northwest, the Cascades, also Northern California. And this is kind of the jet stream just kind of showing what it looks like. Starting off kind of going into this weekend, you have this cutoff low. This is actually a cutoff low moving into Oregon and California. And then as this continues, you can see that, it moves slowly eastward, and then it starts dissipating, but it still turns into this kind of negatively tilted trough by Sunday night into early Monday, and then it does get pretty strong. You have an 110 knot jet stream maximum over kind of Nebraska, but they're expecting severe weather, I think, a bit to the south of this, but still, you have this system, so that winter storm kind of goes eastward and produces a chance for severe weather, and then you have this extended jet stream going all the way from Oregon all the way into Oklahoma and Texas. And this is going into Monday night into Tuesday. And this is kind of where they're actually, I think, expecting some significant severe weather in this area. Again, from this kind of jet stream pattern, you're going to have a lot of warm, moist air coming up into this. So that's kind of what it's supposed to do. And then you can see the jet stream is really strong, 140 knots. This extends all the way over, and this can lead to an extended severe weather pattern. It's going to keep going for a while, actually. And this continues into Wednesday. The jet stream is still going over the area, but a bit to the further north. So let's see what happens there. And then a trough does sink down into the Midwest, and that could shut down the severe weather potential. This is the winter storm that's coming into the western U.S. Pretty much going to be right now. You have rain in western Washington, western Oregon with this, and then when you get into tomorrow morning, you actually have snow starting in the mountains in northern California and southern Oregon as the cold pocket is actually approaching, because this is, you can see the thickness lines here, they actually circle around, so this is a cutoff low. You have those warmer temperatures out ahead of it, but as that cold pocket approaches, the snow levels start coming down 6,000 feet down to, I think, probably 4,000 to 5,000 feet in some of these places. And so that snow starts coming down, probably pretty heavy snow at times through the day on Saturday. And then when it hits the Sierra Nevada mountains, it gets really heavy for several hours, but it does kind of move, not super quickly, but you do have, a few hours of some heavy snow that's going to be happening. And then still snow showers as that cold pocket is directly overhead. I think there could even be some thunderstorm potential with that if you have this kind of cold air aloft set up over the area. And then you still have rain and snow showers that continue on Sunday, and then this starts lifting off to the north and east. But then you still have snow showers, rain and snow showers continuing all the way through Sunday night. So yeah, this is what makes this more impactful or unusual, is that you have heavy snow happening in May. It's like pretty interesting. You could have along the coast of Oregon, you could have it between 3 to 4 inches in some areas, 2.5 to 3 inches in most of these places, but up to 4 inches in some locations, in higher terrain, you could have over 4 inches. And then a bit further inland, you have about an inch to 2, maybe 3 inches. And then as you go further inland, it just depends. You could have anywhere from, a couple tenths of an inch to an inch and a quarter. It's in, Oregon and also the Pacific Northwest. And this is a little bit further south, and so this is showing just total rainfall. And some of this is going to be snow, but at lower elevations you have possibly a half inch to an inch of rain, but then this shows maybe 2-3 inches, but that's going to be snow, so maybe 25-30 inches of snow there. And then along the coast, maybe 2 inches of rain. Snowfall, just maybe a few inches up to a foot, depending on where you are. Maybe nothing. Just depends on elevation in the Pacific Northwest. But some of these mountains could get either a few inches up to a foot of snow. And then some of the highest peaks could get several feet of snow. And then maybe 3 feet in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Temperatures are going to be well below average. So, yeah. This is showing those below freezing temperatures start coming in, especially tomorrow morning. And you could have temperatures, in the low 30s, but then those low temperatures, as that cold pocket of air is in place, it's going to get pretty cold, like down into the teens, maybe even single digits on some of the higher mountains in the Sierra Nevada mountains. But in kind of this area in the Cascades and Southern Oregon and Northern California, you could have temperatures in the 20s, maybe 30s in some areas. This is not March or anything. This is May, so that makes it extremely below average. And you could have temperatures going deep into the 20s. This is Sunday morning. You could have temperatures 23 degrees or less in some areas, even into the single digits in the mountains. And then it does kind of warm back up, but then you see colder temperatures spreading over further eastward. And you have below freezing temperatures over a lot of the higher elevations of the western U.S. And these are kind of just the temperature anomalies. This is showing, so you had those warmer temperatures, but then these are well below average temperatures, possibly 25 to over 30 degrees below average. This is the GFS kind of just showing temperatures could be 30 to 35 degrees below average in a lot of places in California, especially. Some of these temperatures being extremely below average, because it should be at lower elevations. It could be normally in the upper 70s to even the 80s right now. But instead, you're going to be having temperatures in the 50s, and 40s. And in the mountains, you have temperatures in the 20s when they're probably usually going to be in the 40s and 50s, and that snow is starting to melt, but you're getting more snow. You have temperatures, this is, 25 degrees below average Sunday, but then it looks like even in Sunday and Sunday night, those temperatures are way below average, possibly, 30 degrees below average in some places. This really cold system comes into place, and then notice what happens. This is all the way into like Monday evening. you have further eastward in the area where we're looking at the potential for severe weather, you have warmer temperatures coming up, and then you have those colder temperatures pushing in. So that's probably going to lead to a lot of severe weather. And that's basically what we're looking at today for the severe weather. This is the CSU model saying a 5% chance of tornadoes, a 40% chance of hail, and a 15% chance of wind. And yeah, those storms look like more hail producers and some tornadoes, but not a lot of wind. The Storm Prediction Center kind of has a 5% chance of tornadoes, 15% chance of wind, and a 30% chance of very large hail. This is the geopotential height. It just kind of shows that cutoff low moves in, and then here's where we'll be looking at severe weather in this kind of area as that trough is off to the west. And then what happens is this kind of goes down, and you kind of have this odd stretched out pattern where you have several like shortwave troughs through this area, and so there's going to be several days of severe weather, but then that trough sinks way down by mid-May, which could shut off the severe weather machine, as a huge ridge with very warm temperatures will build in the northwest. GFS precipitation showing, you have these big thunderstorms today and tomorrow, and this is over Texas, and then that storm comes in from the west, and then you get several days of severe weather. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then it could probably die out by Thursday. Then you have this very calm looking pattern. But severe weather tomorrow, the day 2, it shows, interestingly enough, it shows a 2% chance of tornadoes over Northern California. So that's part of that cold air aloft kind of cutoff low system, that winter storm. So we'll have to see what happens there. But another 5% chance of tornadoes in Texas, and another significant chance of hail in western Texas. This is sort of a dry line kind of severe weather event. The SPC is actually going a bit higher on this, a 10% chance, a significant chance of tornadoes. So this could be a localized significant tornado potential, apparently. And we'll look at that in a couple of minutes, but also a large 30% significant chance of very large hail and some wind. This is kind of just the HRRR showing those storms blowing up in western Texas along that dry line, and then those go for a few hours, and then I think in a couple hours those start dying down. But then you do have some storms up in Kansas overnight and into the morning, but then look at what happens. A huge, this is tomorrow afternoon. You have huge storms blowing up in Texas, and this could be a pretty big event. This is showing a little, severe weather outbreak in Texas that goes from the afternoon into the evening, and then it looks like it turns into more of a huge bowing out wind event, and then this just kind of turns into probably a lot more rain, which could be a problem. But there's that. And looking at the supercell composite, it isn't extreme today. There can be some severe weather, but then it really blows up. It kind of blows up pretty strong in Texas tomorrow, and I think there could be some significant severe weather tomorrow. It could be pretty bad. This is showing it's kind of capped, but then it uncaps probably, and this is showing over 3,000 joules of CAPE, which is some very high instability. And this is the updraft helicity. This kind of shows where there could be tracks for rotating updrafts. That could be tornadoes, that could be hail. And this shows a lot of updraft helicity, probably hail and tornadoes in that western Texas area that the SPC highlighted. And then that kind of goes further east. The dew points are going to be pretty high in this dry line. It's pushed back tonight, but then you have some very high dew points as that dry line comes in, but you have really high dew points into the 60s, even low 70s possibly in some places. So there's going to be a lot of favorable conditions for severe weather. This is actually a sounding from Texas. This is just one random sounding kind of in that area with the severe weather happening, and this it's showing a lot of cape, a lot of instability, and there is the potential for tornadoes there. Another sounding kind of shows possibly a 75% chance of tornadoes, 75% chance of large hail, and a little less cape, but apparently this could be pretty favorable for even strong tornadoes, apparently. So that's why they have that 10% significant chance of tornadoes in there. And that does make sense with what we're seeing. And then this is the kind of the low-level jet stream is not that intense right now. And then tonight it does get pretty strong, maybe 65 to 70 knots, which is kind of extreme. But then it's not that strong tomorrow in that tornado area, but you have a lot of instability, and there is shear, so even without the low-level jet, I think there could be some strong storms. And then this is the Euro just kind of showing overall the low-level jet stream is not going to be really strong over the next few days, except in Oklahoma, kind of maybe 55-ish knots in some areas. Monday night with the severe weather. For Sunday, there's not really going to be much of anything, but Monday, this is the CSU model showing a 57% significant chance of severe weather in southern Kansas and Oklahoma. And the SPC already has a day 4 kind of enhanced risk. So it's probably something significant. And then the CSU model also shows a 40-ish% chance of significant severe weather from Missouri, Illinois, Indiana. And the SPC has a risk out there too. And then it continues. And we're going to see some models that are pretty strong with this. And so this is the CSU model showing also more severe weather on Wednesday and then Thursday. And this kind of pushes eastward. And this is all the way into Friday. Still, they're looking at the potential for severe weather. And so this just kind of drags out for a long time. And so there's a bunch of severe weather to look at. But the low-level jet is not that intense. It's there. It's 40 to 45 knots in a lot of times, which is, somewhat favorable. But there's all the other stuff that's going to be really favorable for very strong storms. This is the Cape. You have to see this. This is extreme because it shows it building up all the way. This is like Tuesday night into Wednesday. You have almost 5,000 joules of Cape on the Euro model, and that's extreme instability. And then this keeps going. You have anywhere from 4,500 to 5,000 joules of Cape in Texas, and then going into that Oklahoma, kind of over to Missouri, you have in Arkansas. That's some extreme instability trying to go into that area. And then you have less instability, but possibly shear and a lot of warm, moist air that's also going to be over the central and southern U.S. for a few days. And this is kind of just the dew points. You could see how you have dew points in the 70s, even mid-70s, possibly coming up into Texas, Arkansas, and then even in the upper 60s, 70 degrees. That will be very favorable for severe weather. And the STP on the Euro model is not super strong, but it does show something, especially it's showing on Tuesday, maybe some more significant tornado parameter, but the GFS is actually a bit higher on this, and it shows that Monday severe weather event, pretty significant, and then Tuesday, and then Wednesday it looks even worse. Wednesday evening, it looks pretty bad, from Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, especially that kind of area along the Ohio River. You have that looks pretty significant. And then it keeps going for a couple days, but then you go to a very inactive looking pattern. And this was a sounding kind of from Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois area. And this was showing the potential for tornadoes. A 68% chance of tornadoes and an 81% chance of significant hail. Because with all that instability, this is showing 4,100 joules of cape. That's extreme instability. So even if you don't have a lot of shear, you're going to have a lot of lift for big thunderstorms, and you do have some turning, so you can have updrafts with a lot of hail. And this is another tornado sounding in that area. And then the temperatures are also going to go up and down because you have a lot of that colder air coming in from the west, and then you have the warm temperatures building up. You have temperatures, building into even 100 degrees on Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening in Texas. And, that heat just keeps building more and more while you have cold temperatures out, or cooler temperatures out in the western U.S. And you have temperatures that kind of go down, and then it starts really building up. But then this pattern, as it changes, then you're going to switch around to having warm temperatures in the west, and then it cools down even into the 30s in Michigan by Tuesday night on May 15th. So this is going way further out, but that pattern does shift with having some warmer temperatures building in the Pacific Northwest, and then those colder temperatures or cooler temperatures coming into the south and southeast. And this is kind of the Euro kind of showing the same thing, as you have this heat just piling up in the south. And the Climate Prediction Center did have something about that, but they took it away for the potential for excessive heat. But this is just kind of the temperature anomalies. You can see some colder temperatures really build into the west, and then those kind of shift eastward. And then you have what used to be some really hot temperatures down in Texas, now really cold temperatures, below average temperatures in Texas, and those warm temperatures building in the west by the middle of May. So that kind of switches things around. And this is a supercell composite on the GFS for the severe weather event. You have quite a bit in that Oklahoma area, and then this just builds, each afternoon. You have significant potential for severe weather there, and then it does die down, and then we have a very inactive severe weather time frame, and then they're thinking maybe later on you could have more severe weather. And this is happening in the classic tornado alley, especially Oklahoma and Kansas, not so much in the south. And that's very interesting to see. And this is just the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. Shows warm temperatures along the east coast and the south, and also building into the west coast, and then cooler temperatures in the tornado alley. And then you have drier conditions also, but wetter conditions along in the south and up the east coast, and even in Colorado, New Mexico, places like that. The 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, even more extreme. You have below average temperatures over the central and eastern U.S., and then very above average temperatures in the west, which is the opposite of what is happening now and over the next couple days, where you have really warm temperatures in the central and eastern U.S. and colder temperatures in the west. And this is just kind of the precipitation. You have above average precipitation in the southwest, the south, and the northeast, and below average precipitation in some of the other areas. So this could mean less severe weather temporarily. On the Climate Prediction Center, they took away the excessive heat thing. So they were looking at the potential for excessive heat, but they took that away, interestingly enough. But they do have a low probability of tropical cyclone formation along the coast of Central America. So that will be interesting if, technically the Eastern Pacific hurricane season starts on May 15th. Sometimes it does something, sometimes it doesn't, but they're thinking maybe May 15th to May 21st there could be a tropical cyclone forming. And this is the GEFS ensemble forecast, kind of showing they're thinking maybe the potential is there. The Euro ensemble didn't have anything with that, so we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, a very interesting weather pattern. You have a lot of changes. You have a late season winter storm. You have severe weather, heat, tropical storms, all of that. So it's pretty interesting. Thanks for watching this video. Please be sure to give it a like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more detailed severe weather updates. Extreme Weather Zone